Well, Colorado has had its fair share of natural disasters, most recently the Marshall Fire. Now, I just learned that almost 72 million properties in the United States are at some risk of wildfire. So I want to learn more from Michelle Steinberg. She is the director at the National Fire Protection Association. She joins us now via Zoom. Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Well, obviously, wildfire is a big problem across the country, but can you share any new info you have about this risk?
Well, what we're seeing is wildfires are starting earlier and lasting longer throughout the year. There's really no such thing as a fire season anymore. We're seeing many more homes and communities impacted than ever before. And it's really on us now to prepare for these wildfires that are a reality for so many of us around the country.
Absolutely. Michelle, this is a big concern here in Colorado. What would you say are some of those factors that would make a home more at risk?
Right. So it's partly where we choose to live and build our communities into some of the beautiful natural areas around in Colorado, just so many beautiful areas around the state, that fire is part of the landscape. It's part of what nature does as a cleanup and a habitat enhancer. But when we start to put our homes there, if we haven't designed them to resist fire, then we're going to see those impacts in our communities. So there's a lot of trends influencing that, but where we try to focus with our preparedness efforts are what homeowners and residents can do right around their property anytime ahead of a wildfire to reduce the likelihood that it's going to ignite when wildfire occurs.
You know, you bring up a really valid point there. We need to be prepared. That's going to be key. What would you say are the top 3 things you would recommend or that people can do to protect their homes right now?
Right. So what you want to do is take a look at any place that debris, leaf litter, pine needles have accumulated. So in gutters, roof lines, right around, immediately around the home, on our decks and porches, and just clear that up, doing that maintenance and making sure there's no place for embers to enter. Embers are a really major cause of how homes burn down during wildfires because they blow in from up to a mile away. I think you mentioned the Marshall Fire. That's absolutely what happened there. And then homes can ignite other homes because of the materials right around our homes. So those are the kinds of things we can do to be prepared.
Yeah, the Marshall Fire was just so hard to see here in Colorado. Now, let's talk about home ignition. What is a home ignition zone and why is this particularly so important?
Right. So that's a phrase, home ignition zone, that was coined from fire researchers who looked at how do homes actually burn down in these wildfires. There's a lot of mythology about it that they cleared up, and they said, you know, it's not so much the big flames, it's those embers. It's that creeping fire going through uninterrupted grass, for example, that can go right up to fence lines or right up to your siding. You want to basically address that. So the home ignition zone is the home itself and everything around it within 100 feet. That's where you can make a difference to remove some of those fuels and opportunities that fire might have to get into the home and into the structure.
Yes, you know, I've always heard even things as small as a cigarette that you may just not put out entirely could start a fire. But can you go over that, what you've seen on your end that maybe things we wouldn't typically think of are actually risks?
Sure. So causes, I think you're thinking about, well, you know, days when you would normally go about doing things that are pretty traditional, maybe using a grill or a fire pit in places where it's allowed, burning debris. These are not things you want to do in certain conditions. So if it's hot, dry, and windy, that's not a great day to use fire outside at all. And that's something you should definitely check with your fire department, whether there are restrictions around the use of fire outside. Get those tips from your local fire department to be safer. Even using heavy equipment, things that could cause a spark, metal on metal, is very dangerous during those conditions. The littlest things can start a fire just in those right conditions.
That is something we all need to keep in mind. Now, as we are heading into that warmer weather, what about for campers? What advice do you have for them?
Sure. I think, again, being situationally aware of what the weather is doing, what the predictions are, if it's safe to be using flame outside, when you're using a campfire, to make sure it's clear, it's not under some overhanging branches or set up in such a way that it's going to ignite something, and making sure you put that fire out completely. So it's that stir and drown and stir again, just really making sure that's out before you leave the campsite.
Wonderful, Michelle. It truly is remarkable what we can all do as a community together to stay safe by being prepared and being aware of the risk. Thank you again for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Okay, everyone, here is some info for you. May 6th is Wildfire Community Preparedness Day. Don't wait to prepare your home and property against wildfire. You can learn more and get useful tips from the National Fire Protection Association. Just go to wildfireprepday.org.